June 4th, 1967, one day before the war. In the week before the war, the Arab street was filled with calls to destroy the Jewish state. The wave of Arab rhetoric from political leaders and the public was reaching a boiling point. Although Israel cautioned Jordan to avoid joining the coalition of Syria and Egypt, Egypt and Jordan signed a military pact. 5 other Arab countries rallied around Egypt as well, sending their troops to the front lines. Egypt also had the support of a world power, the Soviet Union. President Nasser made his intentions clear.
The armies of Egypt, Jordan, Syria, and Lebanon are poised on the borders of Israel, while standing behind us are the armies of Iraq, Algeria, Kuwait, Sudan, and the whole Arab nation. This act will astound the world. Today, they will know that the Arabs are arranged for battle.
As Egypt continued blockading Israel's southern port, Israel hoped that the U.S. would prevent conflict by sending a flotilla to break the blockade and protect freedom of the seas. But the U.S. failed to deliver, fearing that any action on their part might escalate into a confrontation with the Soviet Union. In the south, Egypt had deployed 80,000 troops along with 550 tanks and 1,000 artillery pieces. On Israel's eastern border, Jordan had amassed 60,000 soldiers and 300 tanks, in addition to Iraqi forces which had entered its territory. On the northern border, 50,000 Syrian soldiers dug in and continued their shelling, fortified and protected by concrete and steel, and a formidable air force, some 600 Egyptian, Jordanian, Syrian, and Iraqi combat aircraft, was ready for action. These forces greatly outnumbered Israel's modest military. Watching the armies gather and hearing the speeches delivered across the Arab world, many Israelis feared that they were on the precipice of another Holocaust. The mood of the general public was permeated with a sense of fear, panic, and anxiety. Schools and public transportation were canceled. Teenagers were tasked with filling sandbags to protect against enemy fire. School buildings were converted to bomb shelters. More than 14,000 hospital beds were readied, and some 10,000 graves were dug. Medicine was stockpiled in anticipation of poison gas attacks. The Israelis prepared for the worst. Jews around the world were also consumed with fear and apprehension for Israel. Mass demonstrations were held in New York and London, and fundraising drives were launched globally, with many non-Jews contributing as well. Jewish volunteers arrived in numbers greater than Israel could absorb. Prime Minister Eshkol addressed the nation in a televised speech, but his hesitant manner did little to reassure the already anxious Israeli public. In a show of national unity, Prime Minister Eshkol handed over the Ministry of Defense to General Moshe Dayan, hero of the 1956 Suez War. By now, Israel was forced to accept the fact that all diplomatic efforts had failed. On the night of June 4th, the Israeli cabinet convened and determined that the armies of Egypt, Syria, and Jordan were deployed for immediate multi-front aggression, threatening the very existence of the state. To the Israelis, it was a war of en brera, no choice. On June 4th, the government authorized Prime Minister Eshkol and Defense Minister Dayan to order the Israeli Defense Forces to take preemptive military action. What this action would be remained top secret until the following morning.